following announcement has been paid for by the WZWA network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the WZWA Network, and welcome to our review show here of New Japan Pro Wrestling's WrestleKingdom 18 from January 4th, Tokyo Dome. I'm your host, Karlifornia, and it's great to be with you all again. And guess what, everyone? I have a very, very special guest with me. I need him because I don't know enough about New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he's been a very vital source of information when doing reviews on New Japan. You should all know him by now. I mean, geez, this big shot right here has got like over 8,000 subscribers on YouTube, way more than us. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, the incomparable WrestleMania. How's it going, bro?
Yo, Carl, thanks so much for the introduction, putting me over there. I just want to also say, these days, I don't know too much about New Japan myself. Like, I think the last time I watched this was last year in a last review. Actually, no, I tell you what, I do think I bring a very unique insight to this review, right? Because I was actually in Japan for, I think it was their last pay-per-view. And I saw that in person. So the pay-per-view where Finlay came and destroyed the title, Ospreay's title, right, setting up this match. The one where Danielson appeared on the screen to challenge Okada. So I think actually thinking about it, I do bring a bit of a unique perspective to this. I don't think there's many reviews out there that's, I mean, most people would have seen it on TV anyway, but yeah, no, looking forward to getting into this.
Yeah, cool, bro. I had no idea that you got to see that show, so that's pretty cool. So that's going to be helpful. It's going to be helpful. But, you know, before we get underway, you know, I want to do this at the start whilst people are watching, because, you know, by the end, people probably clicked off because people's attention spans are terrible these days. What's been going on in the world of WrestleMania? How's your YouTube channel going? What's going on in your world?
Well, I mean, the past year or so has been pretty crazy. I mean, WrestleMania 39, so flew to LA, watched both nights of WrestleMania, Raw and SmackDown as well. That was absolutely insane. Of course, Snoop Dogg was hosting WrestleMania. I got to do a meet and greet with Snoop Dogg as well, met Snoop and Bianca Belair, so that was crazy. All In came to the UK, so I was lucky enough to go and watch that. Money in the Bank also in the UK, so was that second row for that, so that was, you know, that was crazy for me. Like I said, I went to Japan and saw DDT, saw New Japan. Yeah, this year, like for me as a wrestling fan, has been absolutely insane. Of course, a little over a year as well. You also had Clash of the Castle in my home city of Cardiff. So yeah, the past year and a bit for me as a wrestling fan just been absolutely insane. But I think you've got something big coming up this year too, right?
Oh my God, bro. Like, I'm seeing all these things that you're doing and all that, and I'm like, oh, I'm on the wrong side of the world. I'm in Perth. It's the most isolated city in the world. Oh, okay. Like, we're going to get a pay-per-view here. Elimination Chamber. I couldn't believe it when I heard the news. I was like, man, like, I knew there were rumors about it, but I didn't know it was ever going to happen because we're so isolated here. Because, you know, all the other cities in Australia are quite far away. So when they do something like this, they usually do in Sydney because it's close to Brisbane and Melbourne and all that. But yeah, I got my tickets, so I'm excited. And finally, I can rub it in that I'm going to see a WWE pay-per-view in person. Can't wait, bro. Can't wait.
Yeah, so especially with, like, I've heard rumors that they might be putting The Rock, Roman Reigns onto Chamber rather than Mania. Like, what do you think about that?
That's, if that happened, I mean, I don't know. Do you think that would happen? I don't know.
I mean, it would be the biggest WWE match of all time, I think. Like, it'd be up there with Rock Hogan, you know, like it would be silly not to have that at Mania, but then at the same time, they've built the Cody Rhodes story up. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough because, like, now that he's like inserted himself into the picture, sorry everyone, we will talk about WrestleKingdom in a minute. Now he's inserted himself into the picture. You know the Cody story has to end with the right way because we've been building to this for over a year. But then Rock and Roman's a huge match. Do you do them on both? Do you do one night Rock and Roman, night two Roman and Cody? But then where does that leave Seth and Punk? You know, do you take Punk's WrestleMania main event away from him again? I don't know, right? It's
That would be hilarious if after all these years, Punk returns to main event WrestleMania, and then The Rock comes back, and he's the reason again he doesn't main event.
he gets bumped again by The Rock. That's okay. Right, let's get on with the review here, WrestleMania. So okay, I'm assuming you saw the pre-show Rambo match. It's a Rumble for everyone out there that's not aware, but here we go. I'm going to try my best to say everyone's name in this match, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Reese. You might have a better knowledge on this, but Yoshinobu, Kanemaru, Takashi, Iizuka, Tomohiro, Ishii, Toru, Yano, Taichi, Yujiro, Takahashi. Look, I'm Australian. We have a hard time grasping the English language as it is. Taiji, Ishimori, Mikey, Nicholls, that's easy. Fujita, Hayato, Shane Haste, Chase Owens, DOUKI, Yo, Sho, Jeff Cobb, Master Wato, Gabe, Kid, Great Okan, HENARE, and Alex Coughlin. There we go. All the combatants in this matchup. What did you think of this one, bro?
Yeah, I mean, it was all right. Like, as far as the thing is, I don't want to be negative straight off the bat, but for me, in the past, this was always one of the highlights of New Japan. For me, it was, the pre-show, or maybe sometimes the first match of the show. And to kick it off with a Rumble, which is always exciting because you never know who's going to turn up. And the biggest card of the year, they have a pretty big roster, so it's just a way of getting everyone to have some match, just put them in a Rumble, a couple of surprise entrants. But I think the way they do it now, where you have like the 4 winners and they go on and have the match for the Fatal 4-Way the next day, for me, I think it kind of takes away a bit from the excitement of a match. But then at the same time, at least there's kind of something on the line. So yeah, I kind of miss it being an actual Rumble. But overall, yeah, it was an all right match. So, good to get us going. I did pop a bit for... you'll have to forgive me. I can never pronounce the names either. Iizuka, I think it is. Coming back from retirement, because back when I first started watching New Japan, he was kind of a regular. I think it was 50s at the time. Like, he's pretty old, but still in amazing shape. But he had this gimmick, right, where he'd come in and he was like a monster that was still chained up, and someone had to like walking a dog on a leash kind of thing, like carrying him, guiding him with a chain, and he'd come through the crowd and like scare all the crowd off. Proper Bruiser Brody kind of stuff.
Right.
So yeah, really awesome to like see him back, and he's looking in great shape. So that was my highlight of the match, just like a bit of nostalgia for me. But yeah, overall, good way to get the show going, I think.
Yeah, no, I will mention that guy because I didn't know who he was, but obviously there was a big reaction from the commentators and some of the guys at ringside there when he came out. We've played Fire Pro on the WZWA network quite a lot, and when he put that thing on, the Iron Claw thing on, I was like, that's where that's from, because I saw it on Fire Pro so much, and then I'm like, okay, I thought that was cool. And like, I couldn't believe that they said he'd been retired. I'm like, but he's in better shape than almost every wrestler I think I probably have ever seen. But yeah, as far as this match is concerned, I kind of echo your sentiments on like the suspense is taken away at the end when 4 people can win this matchup. If it were me, I would just make them have that 4-way then and there. But I guess they push it to either the next show or something like that.
Yeah, so there's a show on the 5th. It's a much smaller show, but it's like a kind of mystery show. No matches announced. New Year's Dash.
Okay.
So they just have it there. I actually did watch that show, but I don't know who won that match in the end. Yeah.
Right. Neither do I. But like, this starts the show, right? And I don't want to harp on this too much, but it's a Rumble match, so it's going to be over 30 minutes long. It kind of dragged for me a little bit. I'm kind of like, come on, like, there's a lot of just people trying to eliminate others and brawling in the corner and all that, and to me it wasn't exciting. And I know in the past they've had surprise entrants like Haku, and I think Jeff Jarrett was in it once. You know, like
Yeah.
they should keep doing that. You have to keep doing stuff like that. Like, what about Glacier from WCW or something like that? Like that character would get over. But anyway, yeah, it was all right. And Great Khan, Taiji, Ishimori, Toru, Yano, and Yo were the winners in this in 32 minutes 40 seconds. One highlight of the match was TMDK beating up Yo with his slippers. I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah. Well, anything TMDK do, becomes an instant highlight these days. I love those guys.
Yeah, like it's crazy because, two of them are from Perth. And then the next day I saw that they were in an 8-man against Ishii, Okada, Danielson, and who was the other one?
Moxley, wasn't it?
Moxley, that's right. Yeah, like shit. And they won apparently, which is even crazier.
Yeah, pretty good as well. Good match like that. So that New Year's Dash is like a mystery card. They don't announce any matches and just sort of see what happens. Obviously, Moxley and Danielson still there, so makes sense to put them in the main event. It doesn't make sense for them to be winning though. Like puts TMDK over. I think Zach got the pin though, so that's kind of he's the bigger star of that group. But yeah, I think this year is going to be a big year for TMDK. They were very over when I was at the New Japan show. Like they were getting a lot of cheers and stuff. I wanted to get a little. They do these like towels, but I guess you can use it as like a wall decoration rather than an actual towel. As a little like a little shoulder towel kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the TMDK ones were completely sold out. Like I wanted to get one and they were gone. So yeah, I think a big year for them.
Right, they're selling the merch. Good on you, boys. Let's move forward, Reese. IWGP Junior Heavyweight title, tag team title match, excuse me. The Bullet Club War Dogs, Clark Connors, Drilla Maloney versus Catch 22, Francesco Akira and TJP. This was super interesting because I don't know any of the stories. I don't know what's going on. I do have the English commentary. They did their best to kind of explain what was going on, but I think they could have done a little bit of a better job for, if you think about the fact that there might be people tuning in that aren't brought up to speed. So TJP comes out, he's coming out of a casket, appears to have been reborn. He's got this mask, he's spitting the mist. So I found that interesting. I thought it was a good match. It didn't overstay its welcome, 9 minutes, 38 seconds. One thing that bothered me was Maloney, he was up in someone's shoulders for an electric chair drop, and someone jumped off the top rope and hit him with a cutter off the person's shoulders, and he rolled out to the outside afterward and stood up straight away. And I'm like, no, or production, cut away, don't show that. And I will say
that time to breathe.
Yeah, and production seemed to miss a few things on this show as well. Like there were things that happened and they didn't catch it on the camera. But aside from those little nitpicks, I thought that this was pretty good, and I could tell that there were going to be new champs here with TJP's new gimmick. And I thought the finish was pretty good. But before I get your thoughts on this matchup, Reese, I know the first time we did a review of Wrestle Kingdom, I asked you about the Bullet Club. I think I asked you about them too when we reviewed Impact Wrestling show. What's going on now? Like, why are they called the Bullet Club War Dogs? There's so many different versions of this faction. There's Bullet Club Gold and AEW, the ABC and Impact. From your perspective, does the Bullet Club matter anymore?
I think the thing is, because it's like an iconic brand kind of thing. And if you have like a brand or some kind of like intellectual property that you can make money from, like run it into the ground, like us as fans, like I think probably like artistically, the group should have probably finished a couple of years ago, and we could look back at it and be like, wow, that run of Bullet Club from whenever it started to whenever it finished really was something. Whereas because it's got that name value behind it and the branding, it's almost like, right, we've got nothing to lose by, using it to try and sell more merch or get these newer wrestlers over, like put in these younger, like newer wrestlers to a roster into the stable to like help give them something to get them over. So I can see like why they're still doing it, and like I get both sides of a coin, but yeah, in terms of what's going on, I've kind of lost a bit of track of what's going on. Like I forget sort of who is and who isn't in it. There's been so many people coming and going from it, and it's split as well at the moment, I think, into the two factions in New Japan anyway, the War Dogs, which I think is mostly the sort of the international wrestlers, so a lot of Americans, and then the House of Torture, I think, is more the Japanese one.
Right.
But they're both kind of similar. I think like War Dogs are sort of like meant to be like the cooler one, and the House of Torture are just like everyone hates them. They're just annoying. They interfere in matches, and it's like, oh god, not again. Yeah, I don't know. I guess kind of a bit like, you know, towards the end of the NWO run, they had like a multiple like factions split off of it, and we kind of like had outstayed its welcome by that point as well.
Yeah, it's true, but that was around technically for the whole first run for the NWO 3 years. This is the 11th year of the Bullet Club. I know there have very many different incarnations of the group and all that. But anyway, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. So thank you for sharing. What did you think of this junior heavyweight tag team title match?
Yeah, no, this was a good match as well. So this, I think, was actually a rematch of the match I saw in person. So that was the final of the Junior Tag League.
Mm-hmm.
To do like a little tournament, junior tag teams, and I think this was a rematch of the final then. And yeah, it was a good match to get the show going. Like the junior tag matches, you usually see that towards the start of the cards because it's like a good, you know, lift the crowd up, get them ready for the main show. And yeah, overall, you know, like I said, not really too much to complain about in this match, but it was a enjoyable match. I was actually enjoyed it more than I was expecting to. And I thought TJP's new gimmick did look cool as well. Like he's one of those people who in ring, he's fine. There's not really too much to complain about him in ring. But my thing with him is I've always kind of struggled to care. Like, I think like from a character perspective, it's just like, he's just another guy. Whereas now with this new mask and this new persona, I'd say it's probably the most I've ever enjoyed a TJP match, to be honest, because I actually felt like more interested, more invested in what was going on.
That's a good point. There's a lot of guys that could do the high flying and all that stuff, the cruiserweight style wrestling. A lot of them, they're like you know, a dime a dozen really, but so like you need something else to draw people in and gain their interest, I think. So that's a good point, bro. All right, well, let's move forward here. New Japan World Television title match. Zack Sabre Jr. taking on Hiroshi Tanahashi. 8 minutes, 53 seconds. This was probably one of my favorite matches on the show. What did you think, Reese?
Yeah, well, Tanahashi, the president of New Japan now, so he's, you know, almost like the Triple H equivalent. Like he's found his way into that corporate job role, sort of helping to run the company. Obviously, you know, using that influence then to book himself to win the title and go over the younger talents. No, I kid, because I think, you know, this is going to be a big year for Sabre Jr. I could probably see him going up to that main event now, so probably best to, you know, get that title off of him. It's a bit of like a bit more of the mid-card title, I guess. And yeah, these two are sort of, they're kind of similar in the sort of the way they wrestle, like very technical. Yeah, it was a good match. You know, like I think Tanahashi at this point, he's not bad by any means. Don't get me wrong, but he's past that peak of, you know, at one point he was the guy, like the ace. He was the guy, the figurehead of that company, and he still can obviously wrestle a good match. But I think it's sort of a shorter match like this. Didn't outstay its welcome too much, and yeah, it was good. Like, you know, I guess some of the longer term fans seeing Tanahashi pick up a win at Wrestle Kingdom was nice for them. And yeah, it's hard to go wrong when you have like two great wrestlers like this in a match together, very similar as well. So I enjoyed this.
Yeah, I did too, very much so. You know, Tanahashi, when he comes out, the aura he carries during his entrance, the jackets, the outfits, the hair, you know, he's cool. He comes across like a star, you know. So as soon as he's coming out, I'm already interested because he looks the part insurmountably. And the last time I saw Zack Sabre Jr. wrestle, I thought the match with Danielson was boring. I felt like it didn't kick into the next gear. It just seemed stuck in the mud for me. So I was hoping for something here that piqued my interest from Zack, and it did happen. I really enjoyed the intricacies of all the little things that he does. And I thought that the two of them worked really well together, going tit for tat with the pinfall attempts. And, he's trying to lock this in, but then there's a reversal. There's so many reversals, and it makes you, invest yourself because you're like just watching them, perform this craft in front of you. And again, right near the end, I love when they went back and forth with the pin attempts, and then Hiroshi did something like he crossed his legs over or something when he went back for that pin, and that was enough to keep Zack's shoulders down. And I was surprised that Tanahashi won because, I'm used to seeing him put over the younger talent now because it seems like that happens a lot with, MJF and there's been a few others, Moxley, etc. But yeah, very enjoyable. Let's move forward. Yota Tsuji taking on Yuya Uemura. I've become quite would I say a fan? I've become very aware, let's say that, of Yuya Uemura. Okay. Because he was a regular Impact, now TNA Wrestling last year. And he had a team with Joe Hendry called Joya, where they did all I don't know if you saw that they did all the
the clip of them, the one of them, is it like singing or dancing? You know what I mean.
Yeah. I think Joe was singing, but they were both doing dance moves together. And I thought it was so great to see him show an entertaining side of himself. And I thought this too was also a very good match between the two. I thought Yuya's selling and fighting from underneath was really good. Lots of suspense. Then he hits that bridging double underhook suplex to get the victory. 10 minutes, 57 seconds. Was happy to see him get a win here because I think he's someone that's kind of like a star for the future. So what did you think?
Yeah, I think I kind of echo a lot of what you said. It was a good match. I think, both of these guys, they were, recently young lions, kind of graduated from being young lions and sort of both went out on excursion for a bit. So like you said, in TNA or Impact, well, TNA again now, I guess. And we had Tsuji was, I think, had a bit of a run in the UK. I didn't see him personally because he wrestles in Rev Pro, which I've never actually been to see Rev Pro, which is does have some relations with New Japan. So they quite often have Ospreay or Tanahashi. They used to have Ishii there quite often, Suzuki too. So it's almost like a British arm of New Japan. But yeah, no, never actually been to see that. So I've never seen him wrestle, but I am aware of him from his work in the UK. So yeah, I think in general, these two are sort of two for the future, could go on to be 2 stars further down the line. A lot of the New Japan roster is quite old, sort of pushing 40 or in their 40s already. So I think they are trying to help bring through the younger talent. And initially I was skeptical when I was because I don't follow New Japan as closely as I used to. When I was looking at the card beforehand, I was a bit skeptical seeing these two in a singles match on a WrestleKingdom card, but actually, I was impressed with the match. I was they did deliver. They didn't let the occasion get to them. Yeah, and I think positive signs for the future for these two.
Yeah, cool. It's interesting that you mentioned that because I wasn't really aware. So that, I guess, kind of their top echelon are starting to age out a little bit, and it's time to start bringing up the new guys. Interesting times for New Japan. Okay, let's move forward, bro. There's quite a few matches on this show. The next one's a tag team match. I don't know. No, there was no title on the line, was there? No. It was Kaito Kiyomiya and Shota Umino taking on the House of Torture, Evil and Ren Narita with they had 4 dudes at ringside with them. So what did you think of this one here? I thought that this match kind of made me laugh a bit because of all the interference.
Yeah, well, I think it was Rocky Romero on commentary said it best when he said the House of Torture represents everything that's wrong with New Japan, and I was like, you don't know how spot on you are with that. Like, I know he's saying it in like a kayfabe way, but I mean, like, yes, you are spot on. Like, because I think sort of a faction like that is probably quite new and almost groundbreaking to the Japanese audience. Like, they're not used to having people interfering in the matches as much, like, to this extent. And maybe for us, we kind of roll our eyes at it a bit. We're like, oh, God, not this again. But yeah, they seem to really be pushing this House of Torture. But yeah, no, I thought it was quite funny, like some of the stuff, especially when they had the guy upside down holding his legs open and Dick Togo with the the dick to dick action. I think the commentator said.
That's great.
So I think like people like I've seen on Twitter, they get really angry at the House of Torture. They just like do not like them.
Wow.
I think this is like probably English American fans who are just like, just get rid of these guys. But I think if you like don't take it too seriously and you just do kind of treat them as like a bit of like comedy, and you know what to expect, like they're okay.
I can't believe people get actually mad.
They're just like, oh, not these guys again. I think they'd just rather like anyone else on the card other than them. You know what to expect with them, right? Like it's not going to be a clean match. They're going to win from like some interference.
Yeah, I found this very entertaining. Shota Umino, when he came out, I'm like, he's like the Japanese Rod Stewart with the hair. That's what the first thing I thought. So this is funny, my point of view, like, and you're saying what the point of view is from like the New Japan kind of fans and all that. I thought the House of Torture came across really cool. I was like, they have to win this surely, because we've had a few babyface victories so far here. The heels have to go over at some point. The low blow was my favorite part of the match. But yeah, I like the fact that Ren and Evil, they picked up the win here, because for the opponents, like the cheating just got too much. They just couldn't. They tried their best, but it was just there's no chance that they could have gotten out of that one alive. So I did enjoy it. 7 minutes 6 seconds. Let's keep moving forward. The never open weight title match. Shingo Takagi, the champion, defending against Tama Tonga. And I thought this was a very good match too. Before we get into it though, I could have just Googled this, but I wanted to ask you, why is their titles called like never open weight title? What is never? What is that about?
So I think like initial, like I'd have to like Google to get the full story as well, but I think I did look this up before. I think initially it was kind of like they were trying to branch out into like a separate brand or something. So they made the titles sort of with a view then of it sort of not being promotion specific or sort of not being tied to like any kind of weight class. So that's why it's the open weight title. And it's kind of just, yeah, because like the IWGP is also not like, it's not the New Japan heavyweight title. So they have like the branding for their titles. And it was almost like, an unsanctioned, like not unsanctioned, it is sanctioned, but just by like a different, it doesn't fall under the IWGP rules. But kind of over time, like, I don't know what they were sort of planning for it, but it kind of never really happened. So it's just kind of being there. It's kind of, like a mid-card, upper mid-card kind of title. So like, it's a good level if you're holding that. It's like, it's a good belt, but never open weight title. And it's kind of become almost like the work rate title in a way, or almost like not even like the work rate title. It's almost like you do tend to have like bigger guys winning it, like sort of heavyweights more often than not. I kind of think a bit like this is a deep cut, but we had a title here in the UK, the Progress Atlas title, which was, you have like junior heavyweight titles where you have to be below a certain weight. This was like you had to be above a certain weight, so you'd have like big hoss fights.
Right, okay.
And while that isn't like enforced on this title, that's what it kind of reminds me of. You kind of have like bigger heavyweights trying to put on like these big, these big kind of matches. So yeah, no, I thought this was a good match. I mean, it's hard, like Takagi, I rate him really highly, so would have liked to see him win actually, but yeah, it's hard to go wrong when you have him in a match. Good to see Tamatonga sort of getting a big win though. He sort of almost peaked a bit in the Bullet Club, and he's been doing bits like ever since, but it always feels like since he broke off from that, he's never really got back to the same sort of level that he was at before. But I did see some rumors actually of him possibly leaving New Japan. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe WWE looked at signing him. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's good to see him get a big moment like that at a Wrestle Kingdom. And Takagi, actually, I like a bit of a spoiler for New Year's Dash. He did challenge Moxley to a death match at the next pay-per-view. So, right. But I was sad, he was losing his title. He is still going on to some good things down the line.
Right, interesting. Yeah, Tama seems like he's built for WWE. And, for whatever reason, when I looked at him, I was like, he kind of reminds me of Seth Rollins for some reason. Just his face. I don't know.
I think... Does he? What attire was he wearing for this? He definitely has an attire, but when he wears that attire, it reminds me of like Rollins' old attire, like the sort of bodysuits.
Yeah, right.
Power Ranger one. When I've seen him wear that in the past, I'm like, wow, he looks like very similar to Rollins there.
Yeah, I really did enjoy the match, and it's 13 minutes 46 seconds, so it went a bit longer than the other ones. I'm pretty sure every title changed hands on the show, which seemed a bit crazy to me. Usually there'd be at least one, successful defense, but yeah, I'm pretty sure all the way through this we had all title changes.
That's a good spot. I didn't actually pick up on that until you just mentioned it.
Really? Yeah. Every match had a title change. So, okay, how did you react when you saw the former Dolph Ziggler, Nick Nemeth, with his brother Ryan show up and sit down in the VIP section to quite a reception?
Oh, I was so excited to see the Hollywood hunk Ryan Nemeth there, and I suppose Ziggler was there as well. But no, yeah, that's a pretty big surprise. I don't want to say didn't expect it, but then I suppose he's left WWE. There's only 2 or 3 companies he could do. I think the thing with Ziggler is because he has been at WWE so long, he probably doesn't need to keep wrestling. So I suppose it was a surprise to actively see him turn up at another wrestling company, because he does do stand-up comedy as well. And I guess he's probably earned enough money from WWE to sort of take it easier if he wants to. So yeah, it was good to see him at New Japan. I think that would be a good fit for him going forward, because he's always been like a big work rate guy, and that's in Japan, it's more about the matches than the story and storylines and stuff. So I think he could be a good fit. I think down the line, if they put him in the G1, that could be like a generational sort of 10 matches of his. But yeah, I was kind of confused actually, because they brought him and his brother out during the tag match. So I was thinking they're going to be like in the tag division, but we'll get into this further down in this review. But it looks like he might actually be there as a singles wrestler as well. So it's kind of interesting to see what they do with him going forward. But yeah, no, pretty excited to see him there. I think, with him, he's always been a solid wrestler, very good worker, in ring, selling. People look at him and say he is the number one seller in the world of selling moves. So yeah, be interesting to see what goes on, and some potential for some very good matches there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought he looked quite dapper in the suit there, and they were making him out to be a big deal. And, you know, if you think about it, he was in WWE for so long. And before that, he was like in OVW, like in developmental. So he's probably at the stage now. He probably doesn't need to do anything, but at the same time, he's probably got a few things that he wants to tick off that bucket list. Like he's probably never got to do so many things because of how long that tenure was with WWE. But you're right. It was during the tag team match, which is next. Two different tag titles on the line, the strong open weight and the IWGP tag titles. Bishamon, Haruki Goto, and Yoshihashi, jeez, take on the Gorillas of Destiny, El Phantasmo and Hikuleo, with Jado at ringside. What did you think of this one, bro?
Yeah, again, like I wasn't sure how this was going to be. But yeah, no, I thought this was also like a pretty good, like it's kind of a running theme throughout the show. Like all the matches were pretty good, to be fair. This one, like, yeah, I kind of enjoyed it. Again, it wasn't anything too much I thought to sort of complain about. I was surprised that the winner of the WZWA wasn't expecting ELP and Hikuleo to pick up the win. I want to ask you, actually, I saw someone put out a tweet. I don't get your thoughts on this.
Sure.
Someone said that Hikuleo reminds them of like a really tall X-Pac. And I was thinking, I sort of see where they're coming from, but also I don't at all. Like, what do you make of that?
Let's have a look. Hikuleo. Let's have a look at some pictures of him.
Because kind of like wrestling wise, I was like, well, no, because he's doing choke slams and stuff that X-Pac doesn't really do.
Okay. Look, there's some pictures where he looks like him.
Right. Okay.
I don't. Maybe not the maybe not the in-ring stuff, but but there's another picture of him where he doesn't look like him at all. But it's maybe on a certain angle. Yeah, yeah, I can see it. I've never noticed that. I'll send you the picture after we're done, and you can.
I've never thought that myself, and I read that tweet, and I was like quite confused by it. I was like, am I missing something here? Like, what's going on?
I didn't see Hikuleo hit a Bronco Buster.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was pretty surprised by the result as well. What did you think of Hikuleo hitting a fucking frog splash off the top rope? That was an interesting finish.
Yeah, you can see that coming because again, like we were saying, like he's a big guy as well. Probably expected. So he's the brother of Tamatonga.
Yeah, right.
So probably expect someone like him to be hitting it, not like a Hikuleo or even ELP. He's like a high flyer generally, but yeah, no, like biggest card of the year. Got to save those big moments for that. Yeah. Brock Lesnar shooting star press. Save the big ones for biggest event of the year.
Yeah, hopefully don't nearly scrape your face off on the mat. So okay, there was one that was what I wanted to ask you about, because the couple matches left in this show, but there's one thing that I get really annoyed with when I watch Japanese wrestling, especially New Japan. They do it a lot in AEW as well, because at this point I'm like, man, the forearm exchanges don't mean anything to me anymore because no one's selling it. It's just back and forth, hitting each other in the face. Do you ever get sick of it? Do you ever go like, just hurry up and get to the next bit? I'm sick of seeing this shit.
I definitely see what you mean. I think I've never thought of that before, but I think because I've watched so much WWE that it's still like kind of new enough to me that.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I definitely see where you're coming from because you think like getting punched in the face or getting a forearm in the face, you're like that's gonna hurt. Like you get that once and you'd probably be like, oh, ow, like
yeah, that's what I think. Who stands there and lets someone hit you in the face?
Yeah, I suppose so. Because another thing that like I used to love, which when I first discovered sort of Japanese wrestling, so like the mid 2000s, like Pro Wrestling Noah. I was watching this match. I think it was Kenta Kobashi, and I couldn't tell you who the opponent was. But for about 5 minutes, they were just standing in the ring, just chopping each other like as hard as they could. And I was like, this is going on for so long, but it's so cool. Like they're just absolutely like battering each other.
I think I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, because at the same time that's like they're taking time in between each one, like selling it. I guess yeah, being punched in the face does hurt. So I think you do
Yeah,
have a point. You probably should sell that a bit more.
just a little bit. I just feel like they're just standing there, and I'm sick of this big tough guy dick measuring contest thing. Like at least when it's like a chop battle like that, the guy goes, "Oh, damn, that hurt," and then he'll have another go at it. And if they do it for quite some time, their chests start getting all bruised and stuff, and it has quite the effect. Anyway, so yeah, we got the new tag champs here, 947. Right, moving forward to the junior heavyweight title match here, Reese. Hiromu Takahashi defending against El Desperado. I did not think I'd ever heard of either of these guys before this match. I thought I loved the beginning, and Desperado just out of the blue flipped over the top rope to the outside whilst Takahashi was making his entrance, looking all dapper in his outfit, and he just gets nailed. Another question I've got. Why are the crowds so far away from the ring now? Like they're really quite far away. They've got all these gates and barricades. Do you know why?
It is like a massive arena, so it's like I think a huge sort of 60, 70, 80,000 like baseball stadium.
Right.
So like the actual like floor bits, like the baseball stadium, the pitch is so massive that the stands are really far away. So the floor is like it's a big floor. It's not like a football, like soccer or rugby arena. It's like the floor area is just huge.
Right. Okay.
So I think like part of it is more space. I don't know, like, is it a bit of a hangover from like COVID as well? Yeah, I'm not sure on that, to be honest. I'd have to go back and watch some older ones and see whether that was always the case or not.
I always feel like they had heat, like the crowd were like really close to the ring before, and I don't know. I'm just going to look for something now, but yeah, keep going.
But yeah, I know they also had like they have a load of commentary desks, and I think they do have like that little VIP area by ringside as well, the place where Ziggler and his brother were sat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think like if I had to guess, I think it would just be because it is just such a huge arena.
Right. Maybe it is. I'm trying to find something here, but I'm sure these search results aren't bringing in the fact that it's at the Tokyo Dome. Anywho, do you have any thoughts on the junior heavyweight title match race?
Yeah, no, again, another very, very solid match, I thought. So you said you didn't know like who either of these guys were. So just to give like a bit of a background, like Takahashi has he's been like the guy from junior heavyweight for a number of years. So he's always sort of been like the main guy in the junior heavyweight division. Broke his neck a few years ago when Dragon Lee I think it was like a belly to belly, and it sort of didn't go well, like landed right on his head. So he was out for like a year to 2 years, quite a while. And he's kind of come back and has slotted straight back into that position then as sort of the main junior heavyweight guy. I think they were thinking about bringing him up to the heavyweights at one point, but the junior heavyweight division is not as stacked. So I think like he's very much like, almost like the John Cena of the
right
junior heavyweight, and he's kind of like very flashy wrestler, like very, you can probably see from like his entrance gear, but like he's almost like a flamingo kind of thing. When El Desperado is almost like the opposites, like I don't know like how to explain him. He's like yeah, but he's been around for a while, and he's sort of slowly gone from sort of just being tagged on to the faction he was in and being like the job guy for them, and slowly over time like grown and grown. So it's like a big moment for him actually winning the title against Takahashi at Wrestle Kingdom, because this is like, like for someone coming in at the bottom, working their way all up to the top, and then winning the title against the biggest guy that division's probably ever seen.
Right. Okay.
So it's like a really big moment for him, to be honest. And yeah, if you've never seen much of his matches before, one match I would recommend, he really randomly had like a death match against Moxley in the New Japan Strong, like the American New Japan.
Yeah.
And that's free on YouTube as well. I'd recommend like giving that a watch because that was just surprisingly like maybe not surprisingly, but like a really good match as well.
Right. Okay.
That was the one where like it opened my eyes. I was like, wow, this guy's like actually pretty good.
Yeah, I thought he was really good. I really did. I like the suspense heading towards the finish of this match. With all the flashy moves that they were hitting, double underhook pile driver, which looked nuts, and the angel's wings and all that. But yeah, another new champion here, 14 minutes 21 seconds. Now we've got the one of the big ones here, the IWGP Global Heavyweight title on the line. I forgot about the fact that so you're saying the lead up to this, Ospreay's title was smashed with a hammer or something by David Finlay, and because it was the US title, right? Then Will turn it into the UK title, and then it got smashed so that they've made a global title. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It does get confusing with like they sort of introduce titles and then sort of get rid of the titles because they've really confused it with the Intercontinental title and what they were doing before as well.
I was going to say that, yeah.
The world title as well is like they like retired the world title and then replaced it with like a new world title. So that was also kind of confusing because they now have like different lineage. Whereas,
really?
Yeah, it's confusing like what they've done and why they've done it. But that US title was kind of a new title from maybe like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Again, sort of like upper mid cards title. And yeah, so Ospreay won that and renamed it. He tried to rename it like the UK title, which was also kind of confusing because the Rev Pro title, which is like the Rev Pro, their main heavyweight title, is also sometimes on New Japan, and they don't call it the Rev Pro title. They call it like the British heavyweight title.
Right. Okay.
So then it kind of gets confusing, sort of like between the belts, which one's which, and yeah, basically like the story of Finlay was like because he's like Irish, so like obviously his father's Finlay, so he's got that link to the UK, but he's like American as well. That he said, Americans say that I'm British people say I'm American. He doesn't really feel like he sort of belongs to one country as such. He's very much just like a guy of the world. I think I was looking on his Wikipedia. He was actually like born in Germany as well, which complicates it even further. So he doesn't feel like he belongs to a country or to a region. And I think that's probably why they've renamed it like the Global Championship then. Oh, that's the storyline anyway. I think probably it's more of a branding thing than anything. But yeah, the last show, then he comes out with a sledgehammer and actually smashes up the title. So yeah, that's sort of how we get where we are. I see what they've done and like why they've done it, but I was kind of disappointed because I think like Ospreay against Moxley, like that's a huge match. Like that's almost like a dream match, as it like two people who you wouldn't often see like face off against each other. And it almost feel like a bit of a letdown have it like adding Finlay into the match. But then at the same time, I do see why they've done it because he's the only one that's actually full time at New Japan. The others are like Ospreay's obviously left and gone to AEW.
Yeah.
Moxley is AEW in the first place, and he's kind of just appears every now and then. So I see like what we've done, why we've done it. But I do feel a bit cheated of Moxley Ospreay match.
Right.
That being said, though, the match wasn't a letdown, though. It was still very good. I did very much enjoy it.
I thought it was really good because, okay, I'll be honest with you, Reese. I'm not a fan of Jon Moxley, okay?
Okay.
I don't know why. It's just over the last few years, for some reason, I can't stand him. I don't know. I think maybe he comes out the wild thing and he's always got these things. He's like a tough guy. And I'm like, no, I don't buy it. For some reason, I don't buy it. I feel like it's just forced, right? That's just, my brain. Okay. Sometimes I can just not like something just because of one little thing that annoyed me. I like Will Ospreay because when I've seen him in interviews, I think he comes across as like a really nice dude. I obviously been interested in seeing David Finlay wrestle more because I'm a big fan of his father. Because when I first started watching wrestling, his father was like in his prime, so that makes me really old. But yes, I was very happy with this one because I was looking to not like this match because Moxley was in it. But every time he did something, especially with Ospreay, I was like, oh, that was pretty good. Okay, all right, okay. So, it goes to show that even if I really don't like someone, I can still admit when the match is really good or I liked what they did. Or whatever plan that they came up with for this one, I enjoyed it. Whereas the last few things I've seen on Moxley and AEW, I've just been not a fan of. And of course, David Finlay won the match, 22 minutes, 17 seconds. I thought they had the perfect finish. When Ospreay, I think he hit a hidden blade after Moxley hit a Death Rider on Finlay.
Yeah.
Obviously, Finlay was going to win the match. No, after this, something happened. Sorry, my notes are a bit confusing here. They had the perfect finish soon after this. And then something happened. Moxley kicked out at 1. Anyway, whatever happened, he kicked out at 1 or even before 1. And I was like, fuck off, dude. Like, don't start. Like, I know Omega and Ospreay did this spot, which got a massive reaction when Omega kicked out of being hit with the one-winged angel at Forbidden Door, I think it was. I'm seeing a trend now where people are deep into a match and they're kicking out at 1 because they're trying to reach that pop. No one's going to get that same pop again for that. No one will ever do it. It happened that one time on a big stage and it worked then. But even in my local wrestling show that I went to here in Perth, I saw a guy kick out at 1 deep in the match. I'm like, fuck off. I know you watched that match. I know you watched it and you wanted to do the spot, the big show of the year. And it didn't get the reaction, so stop it. Everyone, stop it. But
anyway, it's like that, what's it, the Canadian Destroyer effect, right? Someone did it once and they were like, wow, this is the coolest thing ever. Now you see it multiple times in every single match, and it's like just a transitional move.
I know, right? Like you see people get hit with it and they're standing up, and it's just like, oh God. Like I think Penta and Orange Cassidy really destroyed it with their match.
Yeah.
I'm just like, come
on, that was your
guys.
match of the year,
right? Man, no. But I reckon when Petey Williams started doing that move, right, everyone was probably like, wow, like, how does he do it? I probably wouldn't be able to do it. But then a few people started practicing it and realized that it wasn't too difficult to pull off, but it had a great effect. Now everyone's doing it and people are doing it and not getting pinned